Every morning you wake up, you reach for your phone, you scroll through notifications, check emails, scan the news. How many times have you promised yourself today would be different? How many times have you sworn you'd start exercising, reading, meditating? But then, like a well-programmed machine, you fall right back into the exact same patterns. This is the unconscious loop. It's imprisoning you. And the worst part is, you don't even know you're in a cage. Take a deep look at your life. Are you truly living or merely existing? Are you driving your life or just reacting to whatever comes your way? Are you creating your reality or just accepting the reality handed to you? 95% of what we do each day is unconscious. 95%. Let that number sink in. That means only 5% of the time you're actually awake, actually aware, actually present. The rest? You're sleepwalking through your own life. But the unconscious loop isn't destiny. It's not a life sentence. It's just a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. The world doesn't want you to wake up. The system isn't designed to encourage awareness. Media, advertising, social media, all designed to keep you in a state of foggy forgetfulness, unconsciousness. Why? Because an unconscious consumer is predictable, controllable, and most importantly, sellable. You wonder why each day feels the same? Why year after year you remain stuck in the same place? Because you're living in the unconscious loop. The anatomy of the unconscious loop. Here's how the loop works. You wake up with an intention, a goal, a promise to yourself. But then old habits pull you back in. Your brain, programmed to conserve energy, automatically follows the path of least resistance. You're not aware enough to recognize what's happening. Then evening comes. You feel disappointed. Blame yourself. Vow tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow arrives, and the loop continues. The scariest thing about this loop isn't that it exists. It's that it repeats, year after year, decade after decade, until one day you wake up, look back at your life and wonder, what did I do with all that time? This unconscious loop affects every aspect of your existence. Your health deteriorates because you unconsciously reach for comfort foods instead of nourishing your body. Your relationships stagnate because you're too distracted by screens to be fully present. Your career plateaus because you automatically avoid challenges that could lead to growth. Your dreams remain unrealized because you habitually postpone taking meaningful action. And the most devastating effect? Each day feels increasingly worse than the last. Not because your circumstances are necessarily deteriorating, but because living unconsciously creates a slow, creeping sense of emptiness. A life unlived, potential untapped, purpose unfulfilled. The neuroscience behind the loop. Your brain is a magnificent energy conservation machine. It forms neural pathways like well-worn trails through a forest. The more you travel these paths, the wider and easier to follow they become. Each time you react in the same way to the same situation, you strengthen these neural pathways. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a renowned cell biologist, explains that the unconscious mind processes approximately 40 million bits of data per second, while the conscious mind handles only about 40 bits. That's why you rely so heavily on unconscious patterns. They're efficient and energy-saving. But here's the critical distinction. Efficiency isn't always effectiveness. What's efficient for your brain's energy consumption isn't always effective for creating the life you truly desire. These neural pathways were formed early in your life, many before the age of 7. According to developmental psychology, your childhood experiences, family dynamics, early traumas, educational environment, all shaped these automatic responses. The problem is, you're still running those same programs decades later in completely different circumstances. The hidden cost of unconscious living. Living in the unconscious loop extracts an enormous cost, not just in days wasted, but in potential unrealized. Imagine a musician who practices the same mistakes every day for years. Not only does she fail to improve, she actually reinforces the mistakes until they become impossible to correct. This is what happens when you live unconsciously. You're not just standing still, you're actively reinforcing patterns that move you further from your goals. The psychological toll is even greater. Living unconsciously creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that results when your actions don't align with your values. Each day you promise yourself to change, then fail to do so, your self-trust erodes. Eventually, you stop believing in your own capacity to change at all. This leads to what Martin Seligman termed learned helplessness, the belief that nothing you do matters. So why try? It's a devastating psychological state that can lead to depression, anxiety, and a pervasive sense that life is happening to you rather than for you or through you. The social dimension of the unconscious loop. Your unconscious patterns don't exist in isolation. They're reinforced by the people around you, the culture you live in, and the systems you participate in. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If you're surrounded by people who are also trapped in unconscious loops, their patterns reinforce yours. Their excuses justify yours. Their limitations normalize yours. Modern society itself is designed to keep you unconscious. The average person consumes over 10 hours of media daily, much of it specifically engineered to bypass critical thinking and trigger emotional responses. Social media platforms employ advanced algorithms to capture and maintain your attention. Advertisers spend billions studying how to circumvent your rational decision-making process. In essence, there's a multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to keeping you asleep, to keeping you reactive rather than proactive, to keeping you consuming rather than creating. Breaking the unconscious loop. So how do you break this loop? How do you escape this invisible prison? First, you must recognize that you're in a prison. Awareness is the initial key. You cannot solve a problem you don't realize exists. Start noticing. Start observing your life as if you were an outsider looking in. See which patterns repeat themselves. Which habits are imprisoning you. This isn't about self-judgment or criticism. It's about clear-eyed observation. Like a scientist studying a phenomenon, observe your behaviors, thoughts, and emotions without immediately trying to change them. Just notice. Try this practice. For one day, set an hourly alarm on your phone. When it rings, ask yourself, am I conscious right now? What was I just thinking? What was I just doing? Was I on autopilot or fully present? This simple practice can dramatically increase your awareness. Second, you must understand that your brain is not you. Your thoughts are not you. You are the observer of those thoughts. When you begin to create distance between your true self and your noisy mind, you find the power to change. Meditation is perhaps the most powerful tool for developing this observer consciousness. Start with just 5 minutes a day. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and when thoughts arise, as they inevitably will, simply notice them without judgment, then return to your breath. This isn't about stopping thoughts. It's about changing your relationship to them. Third, you must create moments of consciousness throughout your day. Just 5 minutes of morning meditation can change the entire trajectory of your day. Just 5 minutes of evening reflection can ensure you don't repeat the same mistakes tomorrow. The most successful people on this planet all have morning and evening rituals. Why? Because they understand the power of starting and ending their day in a state of consciousness, not unconsciousness. Robin Sharma, author of The 5 a.m. Club, advocates for what he calls the 20-20-20 formula, spending the first 20 minutes of your day in vigorous exercise, the next 20 in reflection and planning, and the final 20 in learning or growth. This creates a powerful conscious foundation for your entire day. Fourth, challenge your limiting beliefs. Beliefs like, I'm always lazy, or I never finish what I start aren't facts. They're just stories you've told yourself so repeatedly that you believe they're true. Change the story. Change your life. The human brain exhibits what neuroscientists call confirmation bias. It selectively notices evidence that confirms existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. This means once you believe you're always lazy, your brain will highlight every instance of laziness while discounting moments of industry and productivity. Breaking this requires conscious intervention. Start collecting evidence that contradicts your limiting beliefs. Keep a victory log of times you've been disciplined, completed tasks, or shown the qualities you believe you lack. Review it regularly to rewrite the narrative your unconscious mind is following. Fifth, surround yourself with conscious people. If you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, make sure those people are awake. Make sure they're conscious. Make sure they're living intentional lives. This might mean making difficult decisions about certain relationships. It doesn't necessarily mean ending friendships or family relationships, but it does mean being intentional about who you allow to influence you and how much time you spend with them. 6. Redesign your environment to support consciousness rather than unconsciousness. Your physical space profoundly influences your mental state. Clutter, noise, and digital distractions all pull you toward unconsciousness. Create spaces in your home dedicated to conscious activities. A meditation corner, a reading nook, a creative workspace. Remove televisions from bedrooms. Create phone-free zones and times. Research shows that merely having a smartphone visible, even if turned off, reduces cognitive capacity and focus. 7th, practice pattern interruption techniques. When you catch yourself falling into unconscious behaviors, physically change your state. Stand up if you are sitting. Take 3 deep breaths. Splash cold water on your face. These physical pattern disruptors help break the neurological loop. Mel Robbins' 5-second rule is a powerful pattern interrupter. When you feel yourself slipping into old habits, count backward from 5, then take immediate action in a different direction. This engages your prefrontal cortex, the conscious decision-making part of your brain, before the unconscious limbic system can take over. The power of conscious choice. The unconscious loop doesn't just affect you, it affects all of us. It's why most people live ordinary lives rather than extraordinary ones. It's why most people accept mediocrity rather than demanding excellence. It's why most people die with their music still in them, never having dared to live a life that's truly theirs. But you don't have to be most people, do you? You're reading these words because a part of you knows there's more. A part of you yearns to awaken. A part of you is ready to break the loop. Every moment offers a choice point, a moment where you can choose consciousness over unconsciousness, purpose over habit, intention over reaction. These choice points may seem small in the moment. Choosing to meditate for 5 minutes instead of checking social media. Choosing to respond thoughtfully to a colleague rather than reacting from old patterns. Choosing to eat nourishing food rather than convenient junk. But these small choices compound over time, creating dramatic differences in life outcomes. Imagine a life where every decision you make is intentional, every action conscious, every moment fully lived. That's the life that lies beyond the unconscious loop. But it doesn't come naturally. It doesn't come easily. It requires conscious effort every single day. The journey to consciousness. Becoming conscious is not a destination, but a journey. You don't wake up once and stay awake forever. You wake up moment by moment, day by day, continuously choosing awareness over automation. The first stage of this journey is recognition, seeing the unconscious patterns that have been running your life. This can be painful. You might realize you've wasted years on autopilot. You might confront behaviors that don't align with your values. You might see how you've been complicit in creating circumstances you claim to hate. The second stage is responsibility. No longer can you blame others for your situation. No longer can you point to circumstances beyond your control. Once you recognize the unconscious loops, you must take full responsibility for changing them. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for the past. It means empowering yourself for the future. As Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." The third stage is reprogramming, consciously creating new neural pathways that serve your highest good. This happens through consistent, intentional practice of new behaviors. Research in neuroplasticity shows it takes approximately 66 days of consistent behavior to form new neural pathways that can compete with old ones. During this stage, you'll face what psychologists call the extinction burst, when old patterns fight hardest for survival just before they're replaced. This is when most people give up, mistaking this last-ditch resistance for failure. But it's actually a sign of imminent breakthrough. The fourth stage is integration, when new, conscious patterns begin to feel natural. You no longer need to exert as much conscious effort to stay awake. Consciousness becomes your new baseline. This doesn't mean you never slip into unconsciousness, but you catch yourself faster when you do. Finally comes transcendence, when consciousness becomes not something you do, but something you are. At this stage, you're no longer fighting against unconsciousness, but flowing with consciousness. You're no longer resisting old patterns, but embodying new ones. The rewards of consciousness. Many will spend their entire lives never awakening. They'll go from cradle to grave in a dream. Wake up, work, watch TV, sleep, repeat, until one day they wake up at 80 and wonder what they did with their life. But you can choose a different path. You can choose to wake up. You can choose to break the unconscious loop. You can choose to live a life of purpose, consciousness, and meaning. The rewards of this choice are immeasurable. Research shows that people who live consciously report greater satisfaction with their lives, better relationships, improved health outcomes, and a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. Consciousness doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you achieve. When you're no longer running on autopilot, you can direct your energy toward your true goals, rather than dispersing it on unconscious habits. This focused attention accelerates progress in any area of life. Perhaps most importantly, consciousness allows you to be truly present for your own life, to experience the richness of each moment rather than mindlessly rushing through days that blur together, to taste your food, to feel your emotions, to deeply connect with others, to fully engage with your work. In essence, consciousness allows you to actually live the life you're in, rather than sleepwalking through it. The daily practice of consciousness. Breaking the unconscious loop requires daily practice. Here are specific strategies you can implement immediately. Begin and end your day consciously. The first and last 20 minutes of your day set the tone for everything in between. Don't start with social media or emails. Start with intention, gratitude, or meditation. Don't end with Netflix or scrolling. End with reflection, planning, or reading. Create pattern interruptions. Set random alarms throughout your day as consciousness reminders. When they sound, take 3 deep breaths and ask, am I present right now? What was I just thinking? Was one conscious or unconscious? Practice the stop technique several times daily. Stop, take a breath, observe your thoughts and feelings, then proceed with intention. This micro-meditation can pull you out of unconscious patterns immediately. Implement the sacred pause. Before responding to any situation that triggers emotional reaction, pause for 3 seconds. In that pause lies your freedom to choose consciousness over reactivity. Conduct regular life audits. Weekly, monthly, and quarterly, review how you're spending your time, energy, and attention. Ask, is this aligned with my values and goals, or am I operating from unconscious patterns? Create visual reminders. Place objects in your environment that trigger consciousness, perhaps a small stone on your desk, a meaningful symbol as your phone background, or strategic notes in places you'll see them. Practice mindfulness in ordinary activities. Choose one routine activity daily, brushing your teeth, showering, washing dishes, and do it with complete presence. This builds the consciousness muscle. Keep a thought journal. For 1 week, record your thoughts for 5 minutes at the same time each day. Look for patterns, themes, and unconscious beliefs that may be driving your behaviors. Seek feedback from others. Sometimes we're blind to our own unconscious patterns. Ask trusted friends or family what behaviors they notice you repeating that you might not be aware of. Create accountability. Share your commitment to consciousness with someone who will hold you to it. Regular check-ins significantly increase your chances of breaking old patterns. The ultimate choice. And this brings us to the ultimate question. What will you choose? Will you continue sleeping? Or will you wake up and truly live? This choice isn't made once. It's made moment by moment, day by day. Each time you catch yourself in an unconscious pattern, you have the opportunity to choose differently. Each time you notice yourself sleepwalking through life, you have the chance to awaken. The unconscious loop has likely been running your life for decades. It won't dissolve overnight. There will be days you fall back into old patterns. Days when autopilot takes over. Days when you forget to be conscious. But with each conscious choice, you weaken the loop's hold. With each mindful moment, you strengthen your freedom. With each intentional action, you reclaim your life. Because when you awaken, life is no longer a series of bad days. It becomes a journey, an adventure, a gift. The unconscious loop wants to convince you that tomorrow will be just like today. That change is impossible. That this is just how life is. But deep down, you know better. You've glimpsed the possibility of a conscious life. You've tasted moments of true awareness. You've felt the difference between sleepwalking and being fully alive. Now it's time to make that the rule rather than the exception. It's time to break the unconscious loop. It's time to wake up. What will you choose? The decision is yours, and it always has been.